Hello everyone, and thank you very much for coming along today. So today we're going to continue on with our listening. What I need you to do is open up Unit 6. So Unit 5, we're going to stop there for the moment because the next part is actually working on your presentation skills. And I'd prefer to focus on speaking when we are back in the classroom so I can give you some feedback and also to make sure that you are not speaking Chinese. Yes, I'm looking at you. Okay, so we're looking at Unit 6, the environment. Okay, so first of all, listening and identifying facts and opinions. If you want to think about how you can tell what a fact is versus an opinion. So a fact is something that you can quantify, that you can verify, and that you can get evidence for. So quantify, verify, and get evidence for. It's also, you can have a generally acknowledged fact. So a generally acknowledged fact, for instance, is that the Earth is round. You don't need to prove that the Earth is round, it's a generally acknowledged fact. In terms of opinions, people speak in different ways to talk about opinions. Thailand has the best food in the world would be an opinion, because that it would be my opinion. And I think it's a fact, but that makes it my opinion. So in academic discourse, it's very important to be able to distinguish between facts and opinions. Academic discourse means communication or any way of sharing information. Which means that when you're doing your research for your essay or you're doing your research for your presentations, you need to make sure that you're looking at facts and not opinions. And if you're using opinions, you need to use them in the correct way and make it clear that this is not factual evidence. So facts are indisputable, meaning that we cannot argue about them. They are statements we're 100% sure about. Facts are objective. We know what objective means. The synonym of objective, the antonym of objective would be subjective. So an example of facts is water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and Paris is the capital of France. In contrast, opinions are subjective. So they can be interpretations of a collection of facts or of a situation. For instance, people might say agree or disagree with global warming, and that would be their opinion. So they've looked at the facts and chosen which facts they want to agree with, and that has created a separate opinion. Opinions are personal and open to debate. It means that you can argue with someone about their opinion. They're not always expressed, in my opinion, though, which is a bit of a problem, and that's where you need to identify, is it a fact or an opinion, because people will often state their opinion as fact. Examples of opinions are Thailand is the best country for a holiday, and my boss should be sacked, he's hopeless. So these are all opinions. Okay, so here I would just want you to pause the video for a moment and think about what is a fact and what is opinion. So think of 3 facts that you know of and 3 of your opinions or someone else's opinions. For instance, a fact could be Fiona is the best teacher. No, clearly that would be an opinion, but it would be a correct opinion. So just pause for a moment and I want you to complete these because I'd like you to snip it to show that you have actually completed it. Okay, so we're going to look at this in much more detail when we get into level 3, but there's something that we have emotive language, which is what we use to influence the person that's listening to us. So if you want to think about some emotive language about positive feelings and negative feelings and pop them in here. So positive feeling, wonderful, incredible. Negative feeling, hopeless, depressed. So if you can pop them in there, and again, you're going to be doing a snip for me so I can see that you've done this work. Okay. So deciding whether something is a fact or an opinion. I'd like you to circle this, and we're going to go through the answers in our next class. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster was caused by the tsunami resulting from an earthquake off the coast of Japan in March 2011. So you probably remember this. There was a terrible disaster, nuclear disaster similar to Chernobyl that happened in Japan. Now, do you think this is a fact or an opinion? Next, the Prime Minister has done a fantastic job and should be re-elected for the next election. Is this a fact or an opinion? Because of the two different languages spoken in Belgium, it would be better to divide the country into two separate states. Is this a fact or an opinion? In 1990, China experienced a devastating flood that caused the deaths of over 2,000 people and billions of dollars worth of damage to property and the economy. So this is a fact or an opinion? The extent of the destruction of forest habitat caused by logging is absolutely appalling. Appalling is a negative feeling. It means that you're shocked, abhorred, disgusted by this particular thing. Is it a fact or an opinion? Over 2/3 of the countries in the world have abolished the death penalty. Is it a fact or an opinion? And finally, it is wonderful that over 2/3 of the countries in the world have abolished the death penalty. Would you say that is a fact or an opinion? So as I said, please circle what your answer is and take a snip so that you can send that back through to me. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the sections of a report below. So a research report, we have terms of reference, so what we're referring to, background and research methods. So this is when you're explaining how you've actually come up with your information. Your findings, so that's the factual information that you've obtained. Discussion, which is you discussing your thoughts. And finally, recommendations. And then you've got your summary. Which of these do you think you would actually find the facts? I think I've just told you the answer. And which section contains your interpretation? So findings, that would be your facts. So your findings are what you have found, and that would be your facts. Your interpretation would be in the discussion and possibly in recommendations, because your recommendations will be based on what your opinion of that particular element is. So we're going to listen to a conversation on the topic of household waste recycling. And before you're listening, we'll have a look at the questions first, and then we'll go on and listen to the first section. So there are different types of waste in a household. How would you collect your waste at home? And do you have separate bins for different types of waste? So for instance, if you are in Australia or America, there are requirements for you to actually recycle, and you've even got these in your classrooms. So you might have something for plastic, and then you might have something for organic waste as well, so that we can recycle them in the appropriate way. So what happens to the waste after it leaves your house? Where does the non-recyclable waste end up? And what are the environmental benefits of recycling? So we can work out what this topic is actually going to be about by having a look at these particular, at these initial questions. All right, so we're going to listen for GIST to start off with, and then go down and complete 6.8.
GAC 007, Academic English 2, Listening and Speaking Skills. Unit 6, Track 13. Now, listen to a discussion between 3 students.
Hey, look! There goes another one of those new recycling trucks. It seems like there are more of them on the streets recently. The City Council must have decided that the single stream recycling pilot project was a success and expanded the program to the rest of the city.
Oh yeah? The recycling trucks have changed? I hadn't noticed. Maybe they haven't started servicing my neighborhood yet. And what's this single stream recycling pilot program you're talking about? I'll tell you what it is. The City Council passed an initiative to update our recycling program. You know how we've been using separate bins for recyclables such as paper, plastic, glass, and metals? Well, now we are no longer required to sort these items. Instead, the Waste Management Company collects all recyclable products in a single container, and the processing plant uses specialized machinery to sort them.
Okay, so you should have got the answer for listening for GIST. I'm going to go back so that we can listen again, and I want you to identify if you can answer these questions as well. So true, false, or not given. We'll read through the questions quickly first. The single stream recycling pilot project run by the City Council was successfully concluded last month. Be careful of the words concluded. What does that mean? The students all agree that the new scheme is an improvement on the previous one. The new scheme is expensive to set up, but is expected to save money in the long run. Residents can still use their old council collection bins under the new scheme. The new scheme reduces employment costs, work-related injuries, and compensation claims. Compensation claim is when maybe you've fallen over because someone left a floor wet, and then you would actually sue them and say, you owe me money because of you, I've now injured myself. Single stream recycling is a more complicated scheme for residents to manage. The new scheme is more environmentally friendly than the previous one. Dual stream recycling is more cost-effective method than single stream recycling. And finally, dual stream recycling reduces glass contamination. Okay, so we'll listen again, make sure that you answer GIST, and then answer the rest of this.
GAC 007, Academic English 2, Listening and Speaking Skills. Unit 6. Track 13. Now, listen to a discussion between 3 students.
Hey, look! There goes another one of those new recycling trucks. It seems like there are more of them on the streets recently. The City Council must have decided that the single stream recycling pilot project was a success and expanded the program to the rest of the city.
Oh yeah? The recycling trucks have changed? I hadn't noticed. Maybe they haven't started servicing my neighborhood yet. And what's this single stream recycling pilot program you're talking about? I'll tell you what it is. The City Council passed an initiative to update our recycling program. You know how we've been using separate bins for recyclables such as paper, plastic, glass, and metals? Well, now we are no longer required to sort these items. Instead, the Waste Management Company collects all recyclable products in a single container, and the processing plant uses specialized machinery to sort them. That's why it's called single stream recycling. I see. But something tells me that you're not in favor of the recycling program change. You're right. I'm not a fan. If you ask me, single stream recycling is a terrible idea because there are far more disadvantages than advantages. Our city should have kept with business as usual, in my opinion.
Really? That's not what I've heard. From my research, single stream recycling programs have shown great success over the past 15 to 20 years since the movement started in California during the 90s. Now, there are over 22 states that have single stream recycling programs in operation. That fact alone tells me that this single stream must be a better form of recycling if such a large part of the country has adopted it.
Perhaps, but at what cost? Single stream recycling programs are expensive on various fronts. On the processing side, recycling plants have to be modernized with special facilities that can separate the assorted recyclables. Meanwhile, the city has to purchase all new collection equipment as well. There are the new wheeled bins for each household and a new fleet of trucks that are designed to haul combined loads of recyclables. Of course, this project is funded by tax money, so it is you and I who are paying the price.
That's one way to look at the situation. However, single stream recycling actually saves money in the long run. First of all, the equipment on each truck for keeping recyclables separate costs $50,000. Then,
Wait a minute. Where did you find that cost information?
from a news article in the Baltimore Sun that I read about Montgomery County, Maryland's single stream recycling program. You can find it online if you do a search, and I'll be happy to send you the link.
Oh, all right then. Thanks.
Okay, so where was I? Ah, yes, how single stream recycling saves money in the long run. In addition to the collection trucks, single stream recycling programs also cut down on labor costs and work-related injuries. This is because our new recycling trucks use automated arms to lift and dump the bins, which reduces the number of workers that are needed to collect the recyclables. It also decreases the compensation money that the city has to pay workers who get injured while lifting the heavy bins.
To be honest, I think that money is not the most important consideration. If I understand the way that the collection system works, single stream recycling brings many benefits that are worth the costs. I reckon that this program is popular with many residents because it is easier for them to put all the recyclables in one container than it is to sort them into separate bins. Also, the wheeled bins are more convenient for moving the recyclables to the street for pickup compared to having to carry multiple bins. In the end, making recycling more efficient will lead to more people participating in the program, which means less recyclable waste being thrown away and piling up in our landfills.
Slow down there. Single stream recycling is not as eco-friendly as you may think. A serious problem with the program is that it increases contamination of recyclables. Specifically, when broken glass becomes mixed in with paper and plastics, it lowers the product's quality and makes them unable to be recycled. What do you think happens then? The contaminated recyclables have to be thrown away, so they do end up in our landfills. According to some statistics I read from the University of Wisconsin, single stream recycling has a contamination level of almost 20%. As you can imagine, that's a lot of extra waste. At this rate, we'd be better off if we stopped recycling glass altogether.
Hold on a second. Are you really saying that we should eliminate glass from our recycling programs altogether? That's an even worse idea. Can you picture how much more waste would be created if 100% of our glass products were dumped in landfills? Nearly 12 million tons a year, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
If I may interrupt you two, I'm definitely no expert, but it seems to me that the logical solution is a dual stream recycling program. I mean, why not have two containers to organize glass separately from all other recyclables? Wouldn't that eliminate the glass contamination problem or at least significantly reduce it?
You know, that is a good question. I've heard of dual stream recycling programs in cities like Seattle and Portland.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. I'd be open to learning more about a dual stream recycling program too.
Okay, so if you'd like to re-listen, obviously you can do that on the video. What I need you to do is simply complete this, snip it and send it to me, and complete this one, snip and send to me, and complete these two and snip and send to me. And that's all you need to do for today's class. If you've got any questions, you know that I'm always available on WeChat, and I will speak to you again very soon.